Hello everyone! Last week we did the first part of Arthas' storyline, in which we talked about the start of his relationship with Jaina, the training he received from Myrddin Bronzebeard, and the horrible event with the horse Invincible that would scar him for life. Yet despite that tragedy, life goes on even with these terrible losses, so let's dive right into it and see what else the prince has done. Summer was full in blaze, and Prince Arthas and his entourage, they'd made way through Stormwind towards the Cathedral of Light. Today's the day the prince has been looking forward to all his life, the day that he would become a member of the Order of the Silver Hand. Yet, he felt a nagging sense that he didn't deserve the honor that was about to be bestowed upon him, and in a rare moment, Arthas had spoken of his feelings to Uther the Lightbringer.
Lad, no one feels ready. No one feels he deserves it, and you know why? Because no one does. It's grace, pure and simple. We are inherently unworthy, simply because we're human. And as all human beings, I and elves and dwarves and all other races are flawed. But the light loves us anyway. It loves us for what we sometimes can rise to in rare moments. It loves us for what we can do to help others. And it loves us because we can help it, share its message by striving daily to be worthy, even though we understand that we can't ever truly become so. So stand there today, as I did, feeling that you can't possibly deserve it, or ever be worthy, and know that you're in the same place every single paladin has ever stood.
This reply both startled and comforted the prince. As he went through the ritual, he was accepted by the light, and he became an official paladin amongst the Order of the Silver Hand. Varian Rin, Jaina Proudmoore, all those gathered applauded and congratulated him. He was now 19 years old, and he didn't feel like simply lingering in the Palace of Lordran or do boring state visits. He wanted to do something fun, something that his position, his abilities would earn him, and he knew exactly what he wanted that something to be. Within Dalaran, Jaina Proudmoore had become quite good at her craft, and she was even chosen to become the apprentice of Archmage Antonidas. The High Elf Prince Kilfa's Sunstrider was very interested in the young mage, and he openly courted her. He'd even invited her to come and visit him in Quel'Thalas, but unfortunately for the prince, Jaina found Kilfa's to be more intimidating than someone she could actually fall for. She felt no such intimidation when her longtime friend made a surprise visit. Remember that Dalaran didn't usually allow strangers to come in, but the prince had been able to convince them that he was going to use his time there to study more about the history, the nature of magic, and other things that a king needed to know about. In truth though, he was actually there because he wanted to see Jaina, and studying was just extra. Arthas approached Jaina one day with 2 saddled horses to go out for a nice picnic together on a beautiful day, and at first Jaina tried to tell him that she needed to study, that she didn't have time for stuff like this, but Arthas was able to change her mind.
You'll be a magnificent king one day. No one can seem to deny you anything.
He laughed, and together they rode out, shared a simple but delicious picnic, and fell asleep in the heat of the day. When Jaina woke up, she didn't see Arthas anywhere around her, and her mind quickly shot to the threats surrounding them. There were still orcs on the loose, yet a mountain cat or a bear could just as easily take care of them. She went over the spells that she'd learned in her mind, until the attack came, sudden and silent. A thump against the back of her neck, and cold wetness was the first and only clue she had. Arthas had gone out to collect some snowballs from the mountain, to have the snowball fight that he dreamed of ever since they were young. Laughing cold and wet, he hugged her, and told her that he knew it all those years ago. He knew that she would be a girl to have fun with, someone who wouldn't mind going for a swim on a hot summer day, or getting a snowball in the face. His arm encircled her as firmly as an iron band. He continued to touch her face, trailing strong calloused fingers down the curve of her cheek. Jaina, he said quietly, and she shivered, but not from the cold, not this time. It was not proper, she should move back. Instead, she lifted her face and closed her eyes. The kiss was gentle at first, soft and sweet, the first Jaina had ever known. From that moment on, the young lovers would steal moments here and there to sneak a kiss or a hug, since openly loving each other, that would just feed the rumor mill. As Jaina came back from practicing her fire spells one day, Arthas was waiting for her, and he dragged her into the shadows for a loving embrace. What they didn't know was that Kilfas had followed Jaina to bring back the tome that she had dropped on the floor, and as he caught them in their act, he was furious. Anger and outrage fairly crackled around the mage. He was powerful, and Arthas knew that if it came to it, he wouldn't stand a chance. Ceolfus kept his composure though, and with clenched fist he hissed,
Ashamed of her, are you, Arthas? Is she only worth your time and attention if no one knows about her?
Arthas' eyes narrowed. I had fought to avoid the ravages of the rumor mill, he said quietly. You know how those things work, Ceol, don't you? Someone says something and next thing you know, it's believed to be true. I will protect her reputation by...
Protect?
Ceolfus barked the words.
If you cared about her, you would court her openly, proudly. Any man would.
He looked at Jaina, and the anger was gone, replaced by a fleeting expression of pain. Then that too disappeared, and Jaina looked down.
I will leave you two to your tryst, and do not fear, I will say nothing.
Ceolfus kept his word, and their relationship continued. Although there had been no public announcements, they both knew that their parents had spoke with one another, and that there was an agreement to let the courtship continue. So it was that Arthas, already beloved by his people, was sent on more and more diplomatic matters, while Jaina was usually chosen to deliver messages from Dalaran to the capital city. Holidays and special celebrations were also cherished moments where they could be together, so Arthas traveled to Jaina for the Midsummer Fire Festival, as she joined him during the celebration of Hollow's End. It's tradition during this time to burn the Wickerman and burn away anything you do not wish to take with you into the quiet, deep reflection time provided by winter's enforced inactivity. As a special surprise, Arthas introduced Jaina to his countrymen and he asked her to give them all a show. Fire itself spawned from her hands, instantly setting the Wickerman ablaze, and the crowd cheered. Arthas leaned in close and whispered that she did a spectacular job, so good in fact that they'll demand her to come back each year to light the Wickerman again. She turned to look at him and asked,
Would that be a problem?
Arthas caught his breath and he regarded her. She'd always been attracted to him and he'd liked her from the moment they'd met, but now he couldn't help but see her, quite literally, in a whole new light. It took a moment for him to find his voice and he softly said, No, it wouldn't be a problem at all. They joined the celebration until Arthas led Jaina back to his quarters. They kissed and Jaina whispered,
Are we ready for this?
I am, if you are, he whispered back. There have been other opportunities for Arthas to share this moment with someone. There was Tarifa, for example, as he went to inspect the Orcish gladiator Thrall at the internment camp. She was sent by Blackmorn to make the prince feel at home, yet he had declined her, and she had not been the first either. But Jaina was special, and he was ready to bring this girl the rest of the way into his heart. Under the light of the Wickerman, they shared their love, and later, when the Wickerman had finally burned out, Jaina told the prince that no one seemed to be able to deny him anything, least of all her. He clutched her to him then, a sudden cold shivering over him, though he had no idea why. Don't deny me, Jaina. Don't ever deny me, please. She looked up at him, eyes glittering in the cool moonlight.
I never would, Arthas. Never.
The two young lovers continued their relationship, and during the Feast of Winterfell, it became clear that to the family, Jaina was becoming more and more than just the daughter of the ruler of Kaltaras. Arthas thought to himself that it was only the logical next step, yet the thought of it all made him feel uneasy. When Jaina jokingly told him that the children will almost certainly be blonde, the bomb inside exploded. He didn't feel ready for this. He was afraid that he would ruin it all. What if he would become a bad husband or a bad king? What if, and with those thoughts racing through his mind, he came to the conclusion that he wasn't ready yet. Not ready for children, not ready for the weight of the crown, the relationship with Jaina. He tried to explain that he wasn't ready, and of course she was hurt. She had even asked him if they were ready for this on the night that they came together. But she took a deep breath and she steadied herself. It was alright. She honestly didn't understand it, but it would be alright eventually. They attended the ball together, despite how awkward and painful it felt. Attending a ball together after just breaking up, that must have been horrible. The prince looked out at the blanket of white snow and the moon-silvered lake, and he wondered to himself why everything bad seemed to happen during winter. Breaking off with Jaina would soon be the least of his worries, since this brings us close to the events of Warcraft 3. That story I'll save for next week, the events of Warcraft 3, but before we leave for today, we do need to talk about Ner'zhul and Kel'Thuzad. Remember that the Orcish shaman Ner'zhul, he ended up in front of Kil'jaeden, where he was tortured for a while, until Kil'jaeden came up with a new plan and purpose. The Orcs' failure to conquer the world for the Burning Legion, it forced Kil'jaeden to create a new army to sow chaos throughout the kingdoms of Azeroth. This new army could not be allowed to fall prey to the same petty rivalries and infighting that had plagued the Horde. It would have to be merciless and single-minded in its mission. This time, Kil'jaeden could not afford to fail. Holding Ner'zhul's spirit helpless in stasis, Kil'jaeden gave him one last chance to serve the Legion or suffer eternal torment. Once again, Ner'zhul recklessly agreed to the Demon's Pact. His spirit was placed within a specially crafted block of diamond hard ice gathered from the far reaches of the twisting nether. Encased within the frozen cask, Ner'zhul felt his consciousness expand 10,000-fold. Warped by the demonic chaotic powers, Ner'zhul became a spectral being of unfathomable power. At that moment, the orc known as Ner'zhul was shattered forever, and the Lich King was born. Kil'jaeden then cast Ner'zhul's icy cask back into the world of Azeroth. The hardened crystal streaked across the night sky and smashed into the desolate Arctic continent of Northrend, burying itself deep within the ice-crowned glacier. The frozen crystal, warped and scarred by its violent descent, it came to resemble a throne, and Ner'zhul's vengeful spirit soon stirred within, linked to the armor, the blade Frostmourne, and the helm of domination. From the frozen throne, Ner'zhul began to experiment with his newfound powers. He was able to touch the minds of Northrend's inhabitants, and he was able to enslave them. He was able to cause the plague of undeath, which did not only kill, but it also converted the fallen into undead servants. For months he gathered forces, yet his conquest did not go unchallenged. The Nerubians, they were immune to his mind control and even to his plague, yet there were other means of converting them. The War of the Spider erupted. With the aid of the Dreadlords and Ner'zhul's undead warriors, the Lich King invaded Azul Nerub, and he brought the temple crashing down upon the Spider Lord's heads.
I once ruled Azul Nerub. Then came a war I could not win. I was forced into servitude.
Though the Nerubians were immune to his plague, Ner'zhul's growing necromantic powers, it allowed him to raise the Spider Warriors' corpses and bend them to his will. As a testament to their tenacity and fearlessness, Ner'zhul adopted the Nerubians' distinctive architectural style for his own fortresses and structures. Left to rule his kingdom unopposed, the Lich King began preparing for his true mission in the world. Reaching out into human lands with his vast consciousness, the Lich King called out to any dark soul that would listen, and Archmage Kel'Thuzad was one of them, willing to embrace the whispers.
I was cast out by my comrades, exiled, forced to wander the frozen wastes. But I was not alone, not entirely. The voice, now my only companion, guided me to my destination. Strange, nightmarish creatures awaited me at the entrance. I felt my blood run cold as Icecrown itself. Inside, I bore witness to horrific acts, demonstrations of power that could be mine for the asking. Terrified, I ran, but did not get far. All too soon, my choice was made. Too late did I realize that such power does not come without a price.
Ner'zhul convinced him to come to Northrend, and even though the in-game book, Kel'Thuzad and the Forming of the Scourge, it claims that Kel'Thuzad gave himself up willingly, his short story tells a different tale. As the fallen Nerubian king Anub'arak gives Kel'Thuzad a tour of Naxxramas, the mage begins to doubt. The things that are shown to him, they were terrifying and sickening. There was a demonstration of the plague where a human woman and a human man, they were locked inside a cage. The female was sick. She begged Kel'Thuzad to show mercy, to burn her body and end her misery, but Kel'Thuzad, he simply looked away and he whispered to Anub'arak to make her quiet. In response, Anub'arak pierced her heart and dropped the corpse on the floor, causing the man to howl with anguish, but that was just the start. The female rose as an undead servant. She told her husband to get away from her, that she would hurt him. She pushed him away, causing him to fly against the cell bars and slid down. She was unable to control herself as the transformation was completed, and she leaped at her husband, lashing out, baring her teeth. The man screamed, and blood spurted onto the cell floor. Kel'Thuzad flinched away. Closing his eyes didn't help. He could still hear unspeakable sounds. Ripping, shredding, chewing. A soft, wretched mewling that he very much feared meant that the undead woman was aware of her actions on some level, but unable to stop herself. Sickened and horrified, he teleported out of Naxxramas altogether. He staggered a little distance away and he threw up. Finding a patch of unsullied snow, he scooped up handfuls and scrubbed viciously at his mouth and face. It felt as if he would never be clean again. What had he gotten himself involved in? There was no escape though, as Kel'Thuzad was escorted back in front of Ner'zhul, who explained to him that his powers were beyond comprehension, that he could read Kel'Thuzad's mind as if he was reading a book. No schemes or future plans of overthrowing the Lich King would ever be accomplished, and not even death is a certainty when dealing with the Lich King. Serving this spectral being, the Lich King, as Kel'Thuzad was beginning to think of him, would assuredly bring Kel'Thuzad great power, and damn him for all eternity. But that knowledge came far too late. Besides, damnation, it had little meaning without the prospect of true death. I am yours. I swear it, he said hoarsely, and Kel'Thuzad pledged his loyalty to the Lich King. He worked on using his connections, his fortune, the power of illusion, persuasion, sickness and force to spread the plague across the lands of Lordaeron and establish the Lich King's hold upon Azeroth. Which brings us to the end of part 2, and next week we'll talk about the events of Warcraft 3, where young Prince Arthas would face impossible choices and eventually find himself on the road of damnation. That, however, I'll save for next week, so thank you very much for watching everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and until next time guys, see ya!